The Albany Devils may have played their last game in the Capital Region. It may be the last AHL game in Capital Region history Saturday, and it was a loss to the Toronto Marlies, and that series is now even at a game apiece as they go to Toronto for potentially the final 3 games of the series. And unless Albany can win 2 of those next 3, that will be it for the franchise in the Capital Region. Pete Iorizzo, I know, Closer, you saw his piece in yesterday's paper about the fans of this franchise deserving better. And Pete joins us on the phone now this morning, the sports editor for the Times-Union, Pete Iorizzo. Pete, good to be with you as always, man. How are you?
I'm good, Chris. How are you doing?
We're great. First, let me get your. I want to get your take on this, and then we will talk about the Devils. I'm guessing you saw the exchange Russell Westbrook had with a reporter yesterday after the game. Reporter asked Steven Adams why the Thunder were not as successful without Westbrook on the floor as they are with him on the court, and Westbrook then just kind of hijacked it from there. Have you ever been in that situation? And whether or not you have, what is your reaction to the way Westbrook handled things yesterday?
Where another player sort of interjects himself into your... I guess whether you're a reporter or just a person having a normal, casual conversation, it's a little rude, I think, to just cut into somebody else's conversation. But, I guess he felt that was the only way he was going to get his point across. I've been before where you're talking to somebody, and usually it happens in like an open locker room setting where somebody overhears what you're saying, and a teammate sort of comes to his teammate's defense. And I get it. Players stick together, and a lot of them don't necessarily love the fact that there's a lot of us with notebooks and cameras crawling around the locker room. But I have always felt it was kind of rude to just jump into the middle of somebody else's conversation or break up somebody else's interview. I mean, like you and I know, Chris, like if you're a reporter, right, and you're talking one-on-one to a player, you wouldn't expect another reporter to just suddenly,
right,
jump into the conversation and start asking questions. There's sort of a professional courtesy there where we'll ask each other first if it's okay, or you wait till the other person's finished. So I sort of feel like players should observe the same decorum.
All right, Pete, let's get to your piece yesterday. The Albany Devils, as we mentioned, they may have played their final game here in the Capital Region. As you reflect back on that fact, what did you come up with in terms of the support this league and this franchise has had over the years, albeit maybe smaller than some would expect, still passionate nonetheless?
Yeah, I felt really bad for the small but passionate group of people who really do love the team, the people who've had season tickets to the various pro hockey teams for decades and who've really made it a part of their lives, really, coming out to the arena so many nights every year and forging friendships with the people who are sitting around them. I can really understand why the sense of loss that those people are feeling is real. On the other hand, it's also hard not to notice just the general apathy among everybody else about the team. It was funny when the game ended. If you weren't hanging out with that one small group of people who were really affected by the moment, you definitely wouldn't have realized there was anything historically significant about it. There was no acknowledgement over the public address system. The players didn't do anything. They just went to the locker room, and most of the fans just sort of got up and left. It was sort of an appropriate metaphor for really the team's entire existence in Albany. It was like, well, this is the end, and everybody just went home.
P, how do you feel about the way that's exactly where I wanted to go, was the way that how the franchise and the arena were going about this, almost as if they were already past this happening and not even looking for this possible playoff run. Do you feel that the arena or the franchise should have done something for the fans?
What exactly that something is, I guess I'm not entirely sure, but it did feel like there should have been something. That it shouldn't just end like that with, the team loses 6-2 in a fairly non-competitive game, and then the game ends and everybody just leaves. It just felt like there should have been something. And I know it's difficult when you're in a situation like this where you don't know if this is the last game or not. And, I also understand that the players are, worried about trying to win the series and maybe not dwelling on the fact that this could be the last game in Albany. But it did just sort of feel like there should have been something, some sort of acknowledgement, especially for all those people who've, been coming out to the arena 38 times a year for 20 years. It seemed like they deserved some sort of thank you or something. How exactly you would do that, I guess I'm not entirely sure, but I did feel like there should have been something there.
And now, Pete, well, look, not now, but after the Devils season is officially over, we will all continue to speculate what will now fill the Times Union Center during the winter season. Certainly a lot of people out there want to see arena football come back, and of course League One, not two, that failed experiment, and I know there's so many people out there who have great memories of the Firebirds. There's indoor lacrosse has had a try here. What do you want to see happen, though? I guess without any kind of, without even considering the indications Bob Belber has given us, what would you like to see fill that space?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we've seen so many franchises come and go through here that I guess I'm just a little cynical when it comes to
okay, and I guess that should be my question is what can succeed, do you think? Maybe that's the better question.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if there's anything that can succeed in the way that, maybe the Firebirds did in the past. I don't know. Are you going to bring arena football back here and have 10,000 people in the arena again? I just don't see that. I just think the world is different than it was, 15, 20 years ago when the Firebirds drew like that and the River Rats had such great crowds. I do think if it were something where there were fewer dates, that would be a big help. If you were talking about 8 dates a year as opposed to, 38 or 40 or whatever it is for the Devils. I just think that it's too big of an arena to try to fill with that many dates night after night. I would give you an example. My wife was thinking about taking my son to the Devils game on Saturday night, and so we went online and looked at tickets. It was $24 for an adult and $20 for a child and $8 to park. I just don't know how many times a year people are going to be able to spend $50 for two people to go to a minor league sporting event. It just ultimately she decided not to go. So if it's a thing where people are maybe going to do that once a year, then it makes it a little more feasible, I think, for a franchise to survive through 8 games. But I can't see what would make anybody think that something like the AHL, where you're going to have 38 dates to fill, could be successful in this market.
And Pete, how old is your son?
He's 3.
And who in their right mind is paying $20 for a 3-year-old to go watch a hockey game?
Well, exactly, especially since he's not going to watch any of the game. He's going to be running up and down the concourse.
Right. Look, the last thing I'm qualified to do is give business advice, but that sounds crazy to me. I mean, I would rather get people in the building. Look, the Devils are not in this to make money. I would rather get people in the building. Your son would eat a hot dog or a pretzel or something like that and spend maybe a little bit more money. And on top of that, the $24 would have cost just to get your wife in the door. It's maddening to think of $20 for a 3-year-old.
It's absolutely correct, and you're right. If it were $5 to get him in the door, then maybe I can live with the idea that the hot dog he's going to want is going to be $6, or
right.
His soda is going to be $7. Then you can absorb that a little more easily. But yeah, when you're looking at over $50 just for 2 tickets and parking before you've bought anything, that's just too expensive a proposition to entertain a 2-year-old for 2 hours.
Yeah, Pete, even going off of some of the franchises that are doing well, the Valley Cats draw great crowds every single time, and they have more of a family atmosphere. You have the kids section in left field, and the ticket prices aren't crazy. So, it seems like cost was the reason that this franchise isn't holding, because most people don't want to go there. Game times were issues and stuff like that, but ultimately it just seems like cost is the issue, correct?
Yeah, and listen, in fairness to the Devils, too, when you compare them to the Valley Cats, it's a little different situation, because the Valley Cats have control over what the concession prices are going to be. You don't have to pay to park over there, and those are things that the Albany Devils don't have any control over. It's not the Albany Devils who are, charging you $5 for the hot dog, but they do set the ticket prices. But you're right. Yeah, if I'm looking for something to do with my 3-year-old for 2.5 hours, what's it cost to get him into a Valley Cats game? $5.
Yeah.
And I don't have to pay to park, and the hot dog will be $2 or $3 as opposed to 6. It's a much better proposition than going to an Albany Devils game for well over $50.
Pete, last thing, I'll let you get out of here on this. When do the Mets give up on Jose Reyes?
Yeah, I thought it might have actually happened already. I mean, it's one thing when a guy's struggling to get to 200, but he's struggling to stay over 100 right now.
I mean, I guess the answer is whenever somebody is actually healthy to take his place.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Is, I mean, you do need to fill out the lineup card every day, but, without the AAA roster in front of me, it does seem like there's got to be somebody who could come up to the major leagues and bat above .090.
Well, the one move they did make in the minor leagues was they now have Rosario playing a little bit of third base as opposed to just shortstop. So maybe that is the long-term thought there, that David Wright just never going to be the same guy again. They put him on the 60-day DL, and so now maybe they choose their top prospect to play the corner infield position. I don't know. They're better equipped to figure these things out than I am. I just know that it isn't working right now with Reyes at third base. Pete Iorizzo, the sports editor of the Albany Times-Union, joins us here on Big Board Sports every Monday morning at 10:30. Pete, thanks for the time, man. Really appreciate it. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.